The snow fell like whispered promises outside the cafe window, painting the world in soft white and muffled silence. Inside, the warm glow of twinkling fairy lights reflected off the polished wooden tables, casting golden halos around patrons who nursed steaming mugs of cocoa. Among them sat David, a man in his late 30s, dressed in a dark overcoat that hung loosely over his shoulders. He traced the rim of his coffee cup with a finger, eyes distant, lost in thought. Christmas had always been a time of joy and celebration, but this year it felt hollow. The past 3 years as a single father had been a delicate balancing act, work, parenting, and the quiet ache of solitude. Tonight, he had taken a leap of faith, a blind date, the kind that made him nervous, the kind he wasn't sure he deserved. He glanced at the chair across from him, waiting. A knot tightened in his chest as he imagined someone stepping into his carefully constructed world. He wanted this to work, not just for himself, but for his daughter, Lily. She was 7, bright-eyed, with laughter that could pierce even the heaviest gloom. Lily had insisted he meet someone new, someone kind, someone who might fill the empty spaces in their tiny apartment that Christmas lights alone couldn't brighten. David had agreed, if only to honor her wish. Yet as the minutes stretched on, his optimism waned. The air felt heavy, and he wondered if perhaps he was too damaged, too cautious, too ordinary for someone extraordinary. Then she arrived, graceful, smiling nervously, her coat dusted with snow. Her name was Emma, and she carried the warmth of 1,000 small suns in her presence. But something felt off. Their conversation faltered. Each attempt at humor landed awkwardly. Shared interests felt more like polite agreements than genuine connection. David found himself scanning the room, wondering if he'd made a mistake, if the evening was doomed before it had begun. Emma was polite, kind even, but the spark he hoped for, the instant connection he dreamed about in quiet, lonely nights, was missing. And as he watched the soft glow of the cafe lights on her hair, a pang of disappointment twisted in his chest. Then Lily tugged gently at his sleeve. She had insisted on joining them for the first 15 minutes, her small hand gripping his, eyes wide and observant. "Daddy," she whispered, leaning close so only he could hear. "She's the one, Daddy. Don't give up." David blinked, caught off guard. He stared down at her, unsure whether to smile or frown. How could she know? She was 7. She was innocent. Yet her eyes shone with a certainty that made him pause. He took a slow breath, feeling a warmth spread from his chest into his shoulders, as if her small belief was anchoring his faltering hope. If you believe in kindness and second chances, pause the video now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps stories like this reach hearts just like yours. He tried to see Emma again, not with the lens of doubt and disappointment, but through Lily's unwavering belief. And as he looked, he noticed details he had overlooked before. The way her smile softened when she laughed, how her hands moved with grace as she stirred her coffee, the gentle way she listened, truly listened when he spoke. Something inside him shifted just slightly, a faint spark of hope flickering in the quiet despair of his heart. But the tension remained. Their conversations were still awkward, punctuated by long silences that felt heavier than the snow outside. David's mind wrestled with conflicting emotions. Should he leave? Should he try harder? Should he pretend that everything was fine when it didn't feel right? As the evening wore on, a small miracle of timing brought them together. A candle on their table flickered out, and David instinctively leaned forward to relight it. Their hands brushed. A jolt of warmth shot through him, sharp and unexpected. Emma looked up, startled, and then smiled, a real, unguarded smile this time. And David realized that maybe the spark wasn't missing at all. Maybe it had been hiding behind the wall of doubt he had built, waiting for him to notice. The conversation began to flow, small and hesitant at first, then more naturally, like a river finding its path after a storm. And in that moment, David understood the magic of Christmas in a new way. It wasn't the lights, the presents, or the perfect snow. It was the hope, fragile and shining, that whispered we could find love again, even after loss, even after fear, even when the world seemed quiet and empty.
David walked home that evening with Lily's small hand in his, feeling the crunch of snow beneath their boots. The city streets were alive with holiday cheer, but his mind was consumed with the quiet magic of the night. Emma had seemed different somehow, more human, more approachable, more kind than he had allowed himself to believe in his cautious heart. And yet he knew that a single evening couldn't erase years of solitude, fear, and heartbreak. Over the next few days, David wrestled with his emotions. He was scared of disappointment, scared of giving his heart away again, and terrified that Emma would notice the cracks he tried so hard to hide. He replayed their conversation in his mind, analyzing every laugh, every glance, every moment. But each time he thought about giving up, Lily's voice echoed in his memory. "She's the one, Daddy. Don't give up." That small, unwavering conviction of a 7-year-old began to erode the walls around his heart. They agreed to meet again, this time at a small Christmas market near the city square. The smell of roasted chestnuts, mulled cider, and pine filled the air. The market was bustling with families, children's laughter ringing like bells in the cold winter air. David watched Emma interact with the vendors, her genuine warmth drawing smiles from strangers. He realized how rare it was to meet someone who carried kindness as effortlessly as she did. And yet he still hesitated, unsure if he deserved this happiness, unsure if the world could hold a place for someone like him alongside someone like Emma. Meanwhile, Lily became their little silent guide. She held Emma's hand as they explored the twinkling stalls, asked her questions about her favorite books and candies, and occasionally whispered encouragements to David. "See, Daddy, she's fun. She's nice. I told you." Lily's simple faith began to chip away at his fear. And one evening, as they walked home through freshly fallen snow, David caught himself laughing, truly laughing, in a way he hadn't in years. Emma had a way of drawing out light from even the darkest corners of his heart, and he felt the unthinkable, hope. But it wasn't all smooth. There were awkward silences, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. Emma revealed her own struggles, losses she had endured, moments of loneliness that mirrored his own. And in sharing these vulnerabilities, something deeper began to form. David realized that love wasn't about perfection or instant fireworks. It was about trust, understanding, and the courage to be seen for who you truly were. As Christmas Eve approached, David faced his greatest challenge: the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of opening his heart completely. But one quiet night, while tucking Lily into bed, she whispered again, "Daddy, don't be scared. She's the one. Just be you." Her simple faith shattered the last of his doubts. He resolved to take a leap, not just for himself, but for the life he wanted to build with Emma, and for the joy of seeing his daughter smile. Christmas Eve dawned, crisp and clear. The city shimmered under a blanket of snow, each street lined with glowing lights and the scent of festive treats. David had invited Emma over to celebrate with just him and Lily, a quiet, intimate Christmas, away from the chaos. He had spent the day preparing, stringing lights, baking cookies, and setting the small tree just right. His heart raced with anticipation, hope, and the fear of being vulnerable. Emma arrived, carrying a small bouquet of holly, her eyes sparkling. David felt his chest tighten, emotions swirling like the snow outside. The evening began awkwardly, as any deeply human story does, with quiet pauses and tentative conversation. But slowly, over shared laughter, warm cider, and the soft crackle of the fireplace, the barriers melted away.
Emma shared stories of her childhood. David spoke of Lily's small triumphs and tiny quirks, and Lily, ever the matchmaker, sat between them, occasionally whispering her quiet affirmations. At one moment, David realized that the tension he had felt for so long, years of loneliness and self-doubt, had lifted. He looked at Emma, really looked, and saw not just a potential partner, but a kindred spirit, a person who could weather the storms with him, who could bring laughter into the shadows of his life, who could love him without pretense. And when Emma smiled, reaching across the table to brush a strand of hair from his forehead, he felt a surge of warmth, a quiet certainty that Lily had been right all along. The three of them decorated the tree together, laughing as ornaments toppled and lights flickered. They exchanged small, thoughtful gifts, but the true gift was unspoken, a sense of family forming before their eyes. David held Lily close, feeling her small hand squeeze his, and he knew this was a Christmas he would never forget. The evening ended with a walk through the softly lit streets, the snow falling gently around them, the city alive with quiet magic. And in that moment, he knew that life, with all its unexpected twists, could indeed bring joy when least expected. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below. Your engagement helps spread hope, love, and the reminder that second chances are possible. Before you leave, take a moment to comment, what was your favorite part of David, Lily, and Emma's journey? Your thoughts mean the world. As they returned home hand in hand, the snow whispering around them like a blessing, David understood that love, family, and hope were not just fairy tales. They were real, fragile, and waiting for those brave enough to embrace them. Christmas had delivered its quiet miracle, and David knew, as Lily whispered again, that sometimes the smallest voices guide us to the biggest truths: love, hope, and the promise of new beginnings.